All right, let's move on to our next section, which is tracking files and commits. So in our last video, we have covered how we can create the Git local repo. So when I say a repo, it's local only. So when we create a local project, it's kind of local repository. And we haven't touched github.com. We'll be creating the repository or try to push our local repository to remote. We have this section from here. So we'll try to do this when we reach there. For now, we are working on local, doing the changes there only. Okay, the second topic we wanted to cover is tracking files and commits. So when we talk about tracking files and commits, the first question comes in our mind. So before I explain tracking files, I forgot to tell you last in my last video we created the Git. We initialized Git, and that created a dot Git here in the local. So when we saw this dot Git, we haven't asked ourselves that why it created dot Git, what it contains. So it is nothing but a dot Git directory, and what inside dot Git directory is the metadata. Like it store the metadata here only. Your Git store the metadata here. So what are the hooks, configurations, information, objects? What do we have it? It stores it here fully. Configuration. This hidden, and this is usually hidden. It's not very visible. See, if you check it here, refresh it. This is not replicating here, but dot lab1 dot text is here, and we can see it here as well. All right, let's coming to the second tracking files and stuff here. So when we say tracking files, then Git uses the staging area before doing anything, any commit, or let's say before committing. Why? Because this can give you the control over what becomes the part of history. So whatever you run, that kind of uh, that is that when you run commit, that creates a permanent snapshot of your project. So commit is basically a kind of snapshot wherein staging allows you to select commits, or maybe selective commits. I would rather say, and it creates the permanent snapshot, like I said. And the key operations that it does is it adds files, committing changes, it can view logs, you can compare the differences, and this is what we are going to cover in this section, right? And you can also practice creating and modifying files right after this demo session, lab for lab 2. So let's now first create another file here, and that is called your let's say lab2.config, just like that. Okay, and we have certain configs here, user bestify. I'm just doing it like this only. Email, let's say support at the rate bestify.com. All right, I'll save it. Now if I do get status like we did last time, so we now have two untracked files. And what it is asking us to do, it is asking us to do it is asking us to execute this command git add, and then whatever file I am going to move to the next stage, it will be ready for the commit. However, I haven't created the third file. Let's create the third file here. Let's say lab2 only, but version 1 dot this would be, let's say, again txt, and this would be is lab2 version 1 file. Let's save this as well and do the get status. Now we have three files. All right, and why I created three, and we are following the hands-on lab section here. So let me go back. It is asking us to create three files. Now I'll try to modify them. Okay, let's see. And in my lab one, I have done this. Here are git operations, including including add-ons. Add-ons. I have modified it, and when I modified it, it really great. It updated. I'll say git status. Now we have again three files. No, nothing added to commit yet. These are the untracked. So let me first do the git add. So when I run git add, it means so when I told you what is staging, what I hope you understood what is staging here, right? So staging is the actual preparation area where we prepare the files, create, update the files before we put them to commit, right? And like I said, what is commit? Commit is nothing but a snapshot of your project state. So our next command would be to add it to the staging area. It is currently untracked. No, nothing is being tracked here. So if I do this dot, it will add all the files to the staging area, whatever we have for as listed as untracked here. And if I do one by one, we can also do that. Lab1.txt space lab2 uh, dot config space lab2 v1.txt. So if I add these files and now do the git status, let's see what it says. So here our messages have converted and it says now changes to be committed. So it has moved further. It is now on this staging area. So just to unstage it, we can run this command, but we'll be covering this later. So we have added these to the staging area. Now we'll commit this to the staging area. We'll try to take the snapshot what it looks like here. So what the next command is, commit hyphen with the message. Hyphen m is kind of a message, but you should put the space here. Added three files. I hit enter. Now it says it is now in the create mode. However, if I do the get status, we have nothing in here. So our working tree is clean. We have nothing where we were working on, right? So that how the git add and commit works. The next command would be git log. Let's say what git log does. So it has, because I've already configured it. So the very first lab section we talked about, we have configured the email address. So here we have configured the email address and we have added three files that shows the log history of whatever we have done so far, right? Now we'll clear this up. The next command would be git diff. So let's say when I run git diff, what it does nothing because we have nothing to show the history and show the differences in here. So we haven't done anything, any changes with the existing files. We have only committed those files only. However, if we do this again and say lab2 version 1 file with add-ons add-ons and click save and do the same thing, git status, then git. So I have done git diff. So it is differentiating the lab2 version txt. It says in here no new line in the end, and here we have this is the modified version. So if I do the git add again, which file we modified, lab2 version 1, right? So if I do the git status here, this is the only file we have modified. So this time I will not do git lab, I'd say dot whatever it is adding to the staging area here. And now we'll try to commit. And if I run get diff again, it shows nothing because we haven't we don't have anything to uh, summarize the difference here. We have committed all the files. Now let's go ahead and do the git status again. We have nothing working, tree clean. All right. So in when somebody asks you what is staging, you are very much familiar with. When somebody asks you what is commit, you are very much familiar with. When somebody asks you git diff and git log, you would say log is nothing but history that you show, or it shows, and diff just shows the changes you have done in the file.